Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Weaver. Pardon me. Today I'm going to share another guilty treasure. This time we're going to talk about Roger Waters' 1992 magnum opus, Amused to Death. Guys, I have so much material to share about this remarkable recording that I could easily fill an hour. So I'm going to have to cut this one a little short of historical detail to keep it relevant and about the recording itself and to hit a reasonable running time. So, what am I trying to convey with the term guilty treasure? Okay. In this case, I'm using guilty simply to indicate that the recordings I may choose to talk about here may fall outside the accepted context of serious music, whatever the hell that may be. I mean, the last one I did was a Beethoven piece, so. But substituting treasure for the word pleasure is indicative of the caliber and the distinction of the musical event I'm going to talk about. It denotes that this experience is elevated beyond merely pleasant or enjoyable. Okay? It is truly a treasure in the literal sense of the word, making it worthy of being referred to as precious, cherished, exquisite, and of being actively sought out. Okay? With this recording, I would suggest that even should you find the rather bleak outlook expressed on this remarkable creation to be bothersome or disagreeable, and some of the language to be deliberately explicit and expressive, you can still discover and revel in its utter musical enchantment. Okay? I mean, after all, liberals and conservatives alike enjoy Beethoven, right? Atheist or pontiff might equally enjoy either Monk or Coltrane. You see, to enjoy music, as with most art, one need not necessarily share the viewpoint or the agenda of the artist. Now, I'll start my discussion on Amused to Death by saying that any discussion about art and music clearly must be seen as art. Much like conversations dealing with religion or politics, both of which this recording touches on, by the way, has the potential to become volatile and to raise strong differences of opinion. But that is, after all, one of the fundamental purposes of art, to make you react. While some of the more cynical viewpoints presented in Amused to Death may run contrary to your own, I know they do mine, I firmly believe that they are presented as the voice of a character meant to awaken and stir your perhaps otherwise indifference to the subject matter. And they're not meant to offend or enrage. So, when listening to this wonderful work, should you find it in any way offensive, please don't assume that because I love this musical experience, that I somehow endorse any of the viewpoints or devices that it uses to make its points. Okay? The project that grew to become Amused to Death started in the fall of 1987 at Compass Point Studios in Nassau in the Bahamas. But it was shelved for some time due to both Waters' need to produce the Wall live in Berlin in November of '89 and over his general dissatisfaction with its progress. Yet, after considerably more studio work in London over 1988 and '89, that came to make it apparent that it was still not ready for the light of day. At Waters' urging, his label EMI announced that the project was being shelved indefinitely. So, after another 18 more months of recording across some 10 different studios, with repeated track order shuffling to organize the most cohesive flow of the sound, and even a fleeting plan to change the title because even in Waters' own mind, it was just too final. The album that we know as Amused to Death finally appeared in the United States on September 1st, 1992. Now, my birthday habit is to go shopping for records. So I found it just 24 days later on my 37th birthday. Now, while ATD does not paint a particularly optimistic picture, I mean, it takes little effort to glean what conclusion he comes to given the title. It is a vivid, engaging, and absorbing one. It is a rather austere statement on life, tackling war, religion, consumerism, globalization, politics, the media, and even the social condition. Lyrically, I find it to be a densely woven tapestry of social commentary rife with political irony. I mean, it's crazy. And ATD is one of those recordings that cannot be fully realized in just one listen. It will disclose more of its message and musical magic, all carefully constructed and subtly layered with each return visit. Now, I could easily make a case that it is the inevitable and definitive culmination of Waters' work, honed to near perfection after many previous outings. It is, in my mind, a modern masterpiece. Though some may see it as an overly self-indulgent work, and I'd be forced to agree to some extent. It is nonetheless a milestone in popular music, both a significant sonic statement and a sonic, stunning marvel. Now, besides being an exhilarating listen and a nearly unparalleled audio experience, ATD's extensive and inspired use of Q sound will also tell you in seconds if your listening room is average, good, or exceptional. If you have boundary proximity issues, your speakers have phase or coherency shortcomings, or your speakers and listening position are even slightly asymmetrically arranged, you will experience only a small part of this recording's extraordinary message. You see, Q sound effects require great attention to system setup, and when done right, sounds will be all around you with this recording, using just a stereo pair of loudspeakers. You will frequently be surrounded by sounds, dripping faucets behind you to the left, dogs barking off to your right, thunder rolling around a room, a horse-drawn sleigh crossing your room, even a genie's voice that surrounds you and fills your acoustic space. Now, it's clearly not perfect. It's a pop recording, multi-mic'd, recorded in nearly a dozen studios over 5 years. So, it's got its issues. They're not bad. But it has made a permanent place in my sonic toolbox for its ability to help me dial in a room rapidly and optimally. In fact, my routine use of several tracks from this album over the decades since it's come out, because of its highly revealing and challenging system evaluation capabilities it shows, has led to its popularization and use by a large number of manufacturers to this day. Now, if you're unable to realize the effects I'm about to describe, you may be able to use some of the tips and direction from my listening room videos, episodes 4 and 5, to help dial your room in a little bit better and get some of these results. But enough of that. Let's get into talking about the 14 tracks that make up this amusement park ride of an album. Written by Roger Waters, produced by Patrick Leonard and Roger Waters, mixed by longtime Floyd sound engineer and record producer James Guthrie. The original mastering was done by Doug Sachs and Ron Luter at the Mastering Lab in LA. It's great right from the track 1, The Ballad of Bill Hubbard. So listen for dogs barking way off your right shoulder, outside your wall typically, and a home shopping network broadcast off to the left. The track then moves into a narration provided by the genuine Alf Rozelle of the British Royal Fusiliers, as he describes his inability to save his colleague, Private William Hubbard, to whom ATD is dedicated, from death and possibly never being found in the trenches during the Battle of Somme in France during World War I. Now, Jeff Beck's creamy, haunting guitar sets the stage, while Patrick Leonard's keyboards and Luis Conti's percussion weave an opening track that deftly foreshadows the fantastic oral play about to unfold. Now, if you don't have speakers capable of recreating the bottommost octave, you better hook up a subwoofer, because you're going to need it to appreciate most of the bass work and to be able to recreate the full spatial effects from this recording. Track 2 is called What God Wants, Part 1, and it opens with a young girl speaking off to the extreme left and a menagerie of animal noises sprinkled throughout the stage. They're all over. Graham Broad's somber bass drum pulse eases you into the track before it picks up its tempo. Guitar rock? You damn betcha. Jeff Beck, Jeff Whitehorn, Tim Pierce, and Andy Fairweather Lowe blend their individual guitar work here to exquisite effect. And Graham Broad's timekeeping propels this composition along like soldiers marching in lockstep. Track 3 is Perfect Sense, Part 1. There is a bizarre voice off your left shoulder, a backward masked message, followed by a host of unique ape vocalizations. Now, fan websites speculate as to what the rising pitched rant in the following message may be, and Stanley Kubrick is at the center of all that speculation. So, the original cover of ATD shows an ape intently watching television. Now, the Stanley Kubrick connection through his film 2001: A Space Odyssey should be obvious to most. From the masked ape vocalizations early on to lyrics like, "The monkey sat on a pile of stone, and he stared at the broken bone in his hand." I mean, the symbolism and references seem clear enough. During the opening sequences of 2001, we are shown the evolution of apes as they progress from passive and timid to aggressive and warlike as they learn how to master a tool, an animal bone used as a bludgeon. Here, the tool isn't a bone, it's television, but used in Waters' vision in the same fashion as a bludgeon. Now, in my opinion, sadly, with the 2005 Analog Productions remaster, the backward message is completely gone, replaced by the voice of the HAL 9000 computer pleading with David Bowman to stop disengaging his memory. Now, I vastly prefer the original, as rather than spoon feed the listeners, I mean, you're forced to think for yourself and draw your own conclusions. But be sure to pay attention to the clap of thunder, which starts just after that backward masked message of the original. Off your right shoulder. It will roll forward toward the front wall, continue across the front of the stage, and slide up the left side wall, completing a perfect semicircular pattern through the room. A bit later, we are treated to a solo piano followed by a solo violin hanging in space off to the extreme right. Now, Waters' lyrics here are ironic and clever, but the strings, the bass, and Patricia Arnold's voice are the stars. We're definitely headed somewhere here, guys. Next up is track 4, Perfect Sense, Part 2. Now, Waters' voice opens, leading into another guitar-driven cut. Rick DeFonso's low, grunting guitar is deep, articulate, and powerful. Now, and here the irony kicks into high gear with a military battle televised as a sporting event, complete with Marv Albert doing a battle play-by-play. It's crazy. Track 5 is called The Bravery of Being Out of Range. Think about it a second. Think about it. The bravery of being out of range. Here the energy kicks up with solid, detailed bass guitar runs. Denny Fungheiser's drum work, Patrick Leonard's Hammond and synth efforts, and Tim Pierce's guitar work are the stars here. I mean, man. Natalie Jackson and Lynn Fidmount Lindsay's backing vocals are vaguely reminiscent of The Great Gig in the Sky from Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Now, there are no super crazy effects here, but this song is definitely rock and roll. And I'm telling you, the sarcasm is scathing. The underlying message is perhaps too close to home to be funny. Track 6 is Late Home Tonight, Part 1. So be prepared to snap your head over your left shoulder to locate the dripping faucet sounds. The sound effect seems to originate from well behind you on the left side of the room. But true to pure Q sound effects, the minute you snap your head to look for it, it localizes right to the left speaker. Fortunately, turning your head front and center again, it'll be behind you on the left side of the room. Okay, and here again, the tempo slows down, and we're back to remarkable sound effects used to heighten the storytelling process. There are fighter cockpit and tower controller conversations, as well as other flight sounds, and they're all around you. I mean, they surround you. Luis Conti's percussion throughout this track is vividly detailed and varies wildly from rock riffs to tribal rhythms. It's just amazing. At the very end of this cut, listen for the fighter jet to release its missile and for the resultant detonation. Now, what follows is a very dynamic explosion, so watch the volume here, okay? But that explosion literally rolls through the room. It starts well behind the speakers and rushes through the room past your chair on its way out to the back wall like a wave. It's phenomenal. Track 7 is Late Home Tonight Part 2. Now, the military dirge-like cornet by Steve Sidwell sets a really somber tone. Sounds here include aircraft and felines. I have no idea why. They just do. Moving to track 8, which is called Too Much Rope. Think about it, Too Much Rope. The effects here are out the wazoo. I mean, it's just crazy. It's incredible. And what a blast. I mean, the sound effects range from TV shows, switching channels on a TV, to chopping wood, dynamic chopping wood. From a horse-drawn sleigh crossing through the stage left to right in front of the speakers, to a Ferrari later recrossing from right to left. This cut is a really amazing extravaganza. It's interesting as hell. And I got to tell you, James Johnson's bass runs here are deep, articulate, and defined. As I've indicated, you really need full-range speakers or a really good subwoofer to appreciate the power of this cut in particular, and of this recording overall in general. The beautiful blend of guitar tones from Steve Lukather and Jeff Whitehorn, combined with Andy Fairweather-Low's distinctive sounding feather-strummed 12-strung Rickenbacker, yield a delicious sound. I mean, we even get to hear Patrick Leonard's children, Jessica and Jordan, screaming near the end of this track before fading into the sound of a warm summer evening with its cricket refrain. I mean, it's like you're outside in the middle of August. It's beautiful. Track 9 is What God Wants, Part 2, and it opens with a televangelist speaking off to your left. And the choir is back, and this time the theme is more driving, more negative, and more ironic, too. I got to tell you. Once more, guitars rule. There's more crickets, more night sounds, and there's a final train whistle off in the distance, way out behind the front wall, and encompassing the entire room, really, to close the track. You are surrounded by the sounds of a summer night. It's just spectacular. Track 10 is What God Wants, Part 3. Now, this opens again with dogs, go figure, and with voices off the left during the lead-in. Now, Graham Broad's cymbals here reveal a lush flavor. Listen to the bronzy bite of the ride cymbal here. And Jeff Beck's weeping, pleading guitar solo is magnificent. He's at peak form on this record. And while you may not always care for Waters' voice, here he totally nails the emotion. It's phenomenal. Now, track 11 is called Watching TV. Gang, this is the beginning of the real ride. This last quartet of songs is the pièce de résistance of this work. Taken together by themselves, they are so strong that he could have recorded just these 4 songs and released them as a killer EP. Effects here include rampant TV channel switching off left and an eerie set of wind chimes. It's really cool. It's really spooky. Now, while the lyrics here may not be the most inspired, they are certainly clever. And the fact that Don Henley offers doubled vocals doesn't suck. And the tone here is really set for the beginning of the finale of what we're about to hear. Now, track 12 is called 3 Wishes. Wow. We have a woman's voice discussing her attempted suicide, along with taking the lives of her children. And it's way off to the left, off to your shoulder. Now, as the track picks up momentum, the disconnected voice of a genie who's recently been let out of his bottle fills the room. I mean, It's behind you, to the left, to the right, to the front. I mean, it engulfs you. It's around you. It's amazing. The power of that disembodied genie's voice rattles closed doors in their door frames down the hall. Talk about chills and goosebumps, man. Jesus. And also here, listen to the spectacular attack and trail of the cymbals. It's just remarkable. Now, the brilliant Jeff Beck, his solo here soars in the middle of the track. But Tim Pierce playing chorus Leslie and Andy Fairweather Lowe, again using that feather strum 12 string, are haunting, just haunting. James Johnson's bass work is highlighted along with Patrick Leonard's keys and John Robert Brundnick's Hammond organ. Uh, the keys and the organ just phenomenal at the end of this track. Track 13 is called It's a Miracle. Oh my God. The composition here with the rising synth, the London Welsh chorale deep in the background, the children's voices, and this lilting piano solo near the opening, they're hypnotic. Um, and there's a chanting, nevermore, nevermore. It's so reminiscent of the Alan Parsons Project, Tales of Mystery and Imagination. It's frightening. I think it was deliberate. I really do. Regardless, the effect is powerful and engaging, including a rarity here because Roger Waters actually picks up his bass on this cut. Now, this track, if nothing else, serves to remind us just why Jeff Porcaro was asked to sit in on so many sessions over his too brief life. His understated mastery of the drum kit is just highlighted. With tom rolls, focused head locations, vital string tone and pitch, it's fabulous. And I mean, just listen to him switch between sticks and brushes as he plays this cut. And the application of Q sound to the echoed voices and drum strikes have them reverberating all around the room. It's scary. It's really scary. Track 14 brings us to the title cut, Amused to Death. Starting slowly and building in energy, not tempo. Beck, Whitehorn, and Waters on guitar soar with Leonard's keyboards. All the while allowing James Johnson's bass to just strut through this piece. As with most of Waters' works, he makes his closing cut a masterpiece. In this closing, Rita Coolidge doubles his vocals, uh, while Katie Kassoon and Doreen Chandler offer superb backing vocals. We're given final questions asked and answered here. I won't go into it. Read the lyrics. In Waters' characteristic bookend style, the last words we hear again are from Alf Raziel. In closing this work and in providing closure for himself, Alf describes how he discovered his fallen comrade's name on the memorial to the missing soldiers some 40 years later. As the track closes on this remarkable work, a TV switches off and the sounds of crickets take us to fade out into a night sky. Now, guys, I got to tell you, Discogs currently shows 102 different versions of this album. Now, my initial purchase in '92 was the original Columbia compact disc. It's a CK47 127. But I stepped up to the gold Columbia CK64 426 Master Sound recording. It's a gold CD, and it employs Sony's super bit mapping. Whoops, that was interesting. Sony's super bit mapping, and it's a remarkable release. If you can get this disc, if you're a disc person, this is the one to get. It's remarkable. But far and away, my favorite pressing is the 1992 limited edition 2-disc 180-gram LP set with lyric booklet. This was published in the Netherlands. A really nice booklet. Deals with a lot of the information that's in here. It's really nice. This is probably my favorite. Well, it is my favorite pressing. It's not probably my favorite pressing. Now, I also have both the 2005 Analog Productions double 200-gram LP set, as well as the DSD64 download of this remaster. Now, I freely admit I prefer this because I don't like the changes to the recording this made. Okay? Regardless. Whatever copy you can get your hands on, you need to hear this recording. It is one of the most remarkable and exceptional recordings in the annals of popular music. No hyperbole, guys. It truly is. Now, I have posted a link to the 2005 article that I wrote covering this remarkable LP that goes much deeper into the Floyd connection and the history of the recording. I hope you check it out. Now, folks, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying our conversations. Thank you so much for dropping by. Please stay safe. Keep the music playing. Till next time, you guys.